Hey everybody, it's John Pollock here in our Fight Network studios in downtown Toronto, joined live. Bobby Lashley is with us, who you can see on Impact Wrestling Thursday nights in Canada on both Fight Network and Game TV, 8 Eastern. And Bobby, it's a pleasure to have you here in our part of the woods here up in Toronto. This is the best time of the year to come to Toronto, right in the middle of the summer.
It was beautiful. It's been beautiful since I've been here.
You were actually up here working for Smash Wrestling, which also airs on the Fight Network. You got to work with Speedball Mike Bailey at the Phoenix Concert Theater. That match will actually be airing in a couple of weeks on the network. Tell us just a bit about working for Smash and also Mike Bailey, because when this match was announced, there was a lot of interest just because of the very different styles of a Bobby Lashley and Speedball Mike Bailey.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. What I like is I like to go to different places and work different wrestlers and just see different styles. And I think what has happened with the wrestling business with all the way across the board is everybody's starting to become cookie cutter. Like, it's hard to go on different shows and see something different. I think the different people are standing out. And that goes back to Mike Bailey. When I went out and I heard that I was going against Mike Bailey, I checked him out a little bit because I heard his name from kind of the independent scenes. So I went and checked him out and I was like, man, how is this going to work? But then I started getting kind of excited because he's kind of like the Matt Sydal, because I have Matt Sydal coming up this Thursday. So it's kind of like the same person. So I got kind of excited to work with him. And then when I worked with him last night, man, the guy is incredible. And after the match, I sat there and I was like, wow, this guy's a star. I mean, and the whole Smash promotion, I enjoyed being there. It was like a lot of energy. It was a smaller crowd, but man, the energy was great, and our match was phenomenal. So I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, it's a really great group of guys there with Smash. So you can catch that in a couple of weeks with Lashley and Speedball Mike Bailey. Now, looking at Impact, at the time we're having this discussion, you guys are about to go into your next set of tapings, which are going to be over the course of 6 days.
Yes.
Can you just tell us a little bit about what that is like for the locker room? Because I don't know if the viewer at home realizes that you guys are doing an incredible amount in such a short period of time and then seeing it roll out. Is that one that when that kind of marathon taping is over, you guys are definitely feeling it?
Yeah, we're going home and getting massages and going on vacations and everything else. That one's going to be a hard one. I don't think we've done that many shows in that short a time. I don't think ever before. So this one's going to be a little challenging. You know, a lot of the guys going in there, when we all come in, you know, everybody's all hype. You know, we got the new stuff. You've just been training to get ready for the shows. So you're looking good, you're feeling good. But then as the days start winding down, you start breaking down a little bit more. But the one thing I can say about the roster that we have here is we're a go. We're a go. You'll never see us in a show look like we're broken down, because we go. I mean, there was times that we had a little issues before last year, and people asked me about that. And even when we had the issues before, as far as paying, different things like that, we were still going hard. So the group here and the group that we have at Impact, I think they're phenomenal, because it doesn't matter anything on the backside. It matters when we get in that ring, we're ready to perform. We're ready to perform at the highest level, no matter what.
Has that always been something that you've been able to shut off when it comes to just you're performing, you're there with the group of guys that, you know, let's be honest, Impact, there's been lots of that stuff that you guys have had to navigate through, and it's never been the fault of the performers, of criticism that is out there. It is never on the talent or the performers. It's outside of your control. Do you guys kind of divorce yourselves from headlines and stories that are out there?
You know, you're always going to get those guys that are in the middle of everything, that's feeding stuff to dirt sheets and talking with people and complaining about things on Twitter. But then we have a group of people that don't. I'm one of the people that don't. I could care less about that. I'm here to wrestle. And, man, it's the greatest job that I could possibly have. It's an amazing opportunity for me. I may go out there and get to wrestle and get paid well and perform in front of crowds. I mean, I get to travel all over the world. So it's the greatest job that I could possibly have. So I never complain. I'm always in a good mood. Whether I'm winning the titles or whether I'm losing the titles, whether I'm on the bottom or whether I'm on the top. If you put me on TV and I get an opportunity to do this, I love it. And I think a lot of people that we have on the roster have that same mentality.
What has been the biggest difference for this run with Impact as opposed to your first one, which went about a year? Because it's been these last few years, I think everyone has seen you just become such a complete performer. And where was that change for you, where it seems everything just came together at a certain point?
Yeah, I stopped trying to play a character, because as wrestlers, we're not necessarily actors. You know, some of us can act, but we're not actors. So what I try to do is I just try to be myself. and the whole cliche that they use in the wrestling business, actually Vince told me a long time ago, is just be you, just turn the volume up. So that's what I try to do right now. I don't try to be anyone else. I try to kind of think of, if people looked at me and they could be me, what would they say, what would they do, how would they act? And that's what I've been doing. Like, I'm a real fighter, so I bring that into the show. So I say different things on there, and I let the guys kind of respond to it. There was a little time a little while ago where Conor McGregor came out and said something about, I'll slap every wrestler or something like that.
Yeah, right.
So when I came onto the show, there was a promo that we were doing, and I was talking to one of the guys that I was challenging, or I was going against, and I told him, I said, you know what? The person that holds this title not only defends this title against everybody on the roster, he also defends this title against everyone that tries to go against professional wrestling. And I said, Conor said something the other day, and if Conor said it to me, I'll beat him up. I'll beat him up bad. I said, can you? And that's the one thing that I changed with my character. I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a good guy. I'm just a guy that will do anything to win titles, because it's good to be on top. You know, you get paid more, you get the first-class fights and everything like that we talk about. So there's a level of realism with the game of wrestling. So I just try to stay on the top as much as I can. And then my character talks about that.
It seemed that a real pivotal point was the pairing with yourself, Kenny King, and MVP. It was just the three of you. Right. Sometimes it takes a while to have that chemistry. With you three, it felt right away. I always go back to the video where you're running on the treadmill with the title and MVP is just talking, and it just seemed seemed everything clicked with the three of you, and people viewed Bobby Lashley as he's someone that instantly a world champion that is perceived as such, because that's not always a given with a guy just because they are the champion. And
it was fun. It was fun, man. It was fun with those guys. I think there's another run with the Beatdown Clan. It was just chemistry. They told us we were going together, and we got together. And at that point, man, the ideals went crazy. I mean, because Kenny's his own character. You know, Kenny, the man of the night, Vegas. You know, he does all this, does that. And we were hoping that Kenny was going to kind of pull me into that character, the king of the night, kind of dress me up a little bit so I'm not as angry all the time and beat people up. So there was a lot of different angles that we could have went with there, and I actually enjoyed it. And that part, like you said, it was a little change in my career because it made me feel comfortable. And that's the whole thing about it. When you get out there, whether it's a fight, whether it's wrestling, if you can get in that ring or cage and you can feel comfortable, you can perform at the highest level. And when I was working with those guys, man, we just felt comfortable. We were having fun. We were in New York, causing trouble. MVP was saying things that he really should not have been saying, but we were getting a lot of heat. But a lot of people liked us at the same time because we were something different. So,
did you get to see Kenny on The Bachelorette?
Yes. And
how did he do in your estimation?
I talked to him quite a bit about it. I was surprised, but Kenny's a good dude, man. He's a really cool guy. He's a good friend of mine. He just has that kind of personality where you can't not like him. There's no way. So when he got on there, I was like, man, I wonder how they're going to perceive him, because he's a wrestler, and wrestlers have that old stigma that goes behind it where, you know, everybody thinks, oh, Hulk Hogan and all this other stuff. But Kenny was different. And a lot of people back home in Denver, they were saying, man, Kenny King used to work with him. And these are ladies that go to my gym. They're like, man, we really like him. We really like him. So I mean, Kenny got over in the reality TV world, and I think he's going to be doing some more stuff with it.
Oh wow! Look at him moving upwards in the world.
For professional wrestler,
but still keeping open a reunion possibly.
Yes, man. Yes, the powers that be. Who do I have to ask for that?
When you talk about that group, I mean, MVP was really focused upon as like the speaker of the group, but I mean, your speaking ability, I mean, you have to look at that, how much that has evolved, and I think you go back to that confidence issue. I think Impact, you guys have some tremendous talkers on the show right now, with yourself, with Loki, with Conan.
Eli Drake.
Eli Drake is another one that I don't think gets a whole lot of focus, and that seems to be something that, you know, you watch WWE, it can be very regimented with some guys that they don't have that freedom. It feels like in Impact, you're allowed to go out there and be Bobby Lashley and be yourself. You're not structured in that same way.
Right. If they need to edit, they can edit. But I'm going to say what I want. I think they edit a lot of stuff that I say because I go out and I say what I want. Because I have to bring it out, man. If you go out there and you're standing in front of someone, you can sit there and let me tell you something, I'm going to beat you up and everything. I don't believe it, you don't believe it, so it's just kind of a stale TV, and that's what we see a lot on TV. But when you go out there a little, the way that we've been doing it, man, it feels real, it looks real, and man, and then another thing is like, I don't think there's two people on our roster that you can say, well, he kind of looks like him. There's no. Me, James Storm, Eli Drake, 3 different characters. EC3, then you got Moose over here. You got all these different people, and no one's the same. So, and everybody has something completely different about them. So I think that's another beauty of Impact right now. And man, I think we're doing great, and I think we only can get better.
What have the changes been like with the ownership changes, the creative changes? I mean, there's been a lot when you look at the Impact of a year ago to, I mean, even in the name of GFW today. I mean, and you've been there throughout all these changes. Does it feel stable? Does it feel like things are on the right path now?
Yeah, it feels stable. It really does. And I think it feels stable. You know, I really never thought that we had any issues of losing it. I mean, because, man, we have some great talent, and I think that everybody sees that. So it was just who was going to step up and kind of have our back. And I think since Anthem came along, there was a cool thing about Anthem is when we started working with them, I got a call from some of the people in Anthem, and they talked with me more directly. Hey, how's it going? What's going on? Not calling me for a particular issue, just saying, let's talk. I want to see who's working for us, who we have on our team that we can actually count on. And I think that's really important. And it's been like that the whole time. There's been a lot of communication between the office and the talent. And I really like that because I sit at home a lot of times with my kids, and I always do stuff with my kids. And then we come to the tapings, and it's like I'm completely separate, and then we come to tapings, and we're completely married again. And that part was a little hard because you never knew what was going on, and then when you get there, it's like, all right, where do we go from here? Now it's been a little different. I'm getting calls and text messages from Jeff Jarrett and Big and some of the guys from office just saying, hey, you know, TV's coming up, you know, this, and giving me some idea of where we're going. Right. So that when I come in there, I have a little bit of emotional attachment to it, and I'm kind of excited to see it go. And I have some ideas that I brewed together on my own to kind of make things happen. And I think that's where you make good TV. You can't keep everybody in the dark. We're not on the dirt sheets. We care less about that. We just want to have a good product.
Do you think that's something in the industry, past experiences where, you know, you just show up to TV and here you're handed something? Yeah. With this method you're describing, it seems like, you know, the seed is planted, it gets to percolate, and that's where, you know, you have a couple of weeks, maybe you have a couple of days to really flesh it out. What am I going? What direction? And that's where characters come from.
Absolutely. And I know what, and like I said, I go back to it. As much as we want to be actors, any of us are like the Denzel Washingtons and the Brad Pitts and the high level actors. So give us a little time to think about what we're doing. Yeah. I mean, if you come there and we have TV that day and here's this and here's your match and we get all this stuff to get ready for, you can't go out there and get ready for an in-ring promo or backstage and then you have a match and you have all this stuff that you got to do in a short amount of time. It's just hard to put it all together because somewhere you're going to fail, either in the match, either in the promo, or you're just going to be running around and just get burned out. So right now, it just gives you an opportunity to just kind of like, okay, here's where we're going. This is what I'm doing. And I'm in a big pivotal point in my career right now, too, because with Bellator and Impact, I'm getting pulled. I'm getting pulled both ways.
And this is being shown on TV now. I feel like Dan Lambert's like coming in now to be your manager or your adversary.
Well, Dan's actually been my manager, kind of mentor my entire MMA career. Because when I first started, I started with American Top Team. I went down to Coconut Creek, met Dan, and we were negotiating my percentages as far as being able to train with American Top Team. And Dan was in there doing negotiations, and I'm sitting back. My manager's there, so my manager's talking with Dan, and I'm just sitting in the office, and he's like, all right, let's talk about this. And he's going through percentages and everything. And I'm sitting back, and I'm like, man, my manager's doing a hell of a job. Because Dan's like, what do you want? 10, 5, 4, 3, what do you want? I'll just whatever you want. I'm like, this is amazing. And then he goes, all right, so they settle on a percentage for me to train down there. And then afterwards, Dan goes, all right, enough about this fight talk. And he opens up his credenza, and he starts pulling out wrestling belts that are no one is supposed to have.
He's got a massive
He's
collection.
got a massive collection. So he's like, man, I'm the biggest pro wrestling fan. He's just throwing all this stuff out. And I was like, holy cow. And from then on, that was in 2008. From then on, me and Dan have been really close. So Dan's always been kind of, because Dan understands entertainment. He understands fighting because he has that. And he understands the value that each one of us have in there to the fight organization. So there's managers that want to come out and just steal your money. Dan doesn't need your money. So Dan was more of saying, hey, look, let's talk about this fight. He's one that got me into Strike Force and kind of helped me out with my career in there. And then he's one that I can always call up, hey, Dan, Bellator wants me to fight this guy. What do you think about it? Oh, it's a great fight. Boom. So that's how we've always worked. And if I needed a liaison between myself and Scott Coker and myself, well, Coker again in Strike Force, it was always Dan. Dan would always just jump in and say, let me clean this up so that we're on the right path. So he's always been there for me and everybody else on that team.
So as you're looking at Bellator, I mean, their heavyweight division, I mean, for a long time, it was just a lot of confusion with Vitaly Minikov, but that seems to be somewhat sorting itself out now as you're looking at the additions of Matt Mitrione, of Fedor, Quentin Jackson coming up to heavyweight. I mean, now...
Oh, he is?
Well, that's what he's stated. I mean, I don't think he really has a whole lot of interest of fighting at light heavyweight. There seems to be a lot of options now on the table, and I'm sure that are
Roy Nelson
as well, just a recent addition. And I mean, King Mo, I'm sure is not someone you will be fighting, but another guy who wants to throw his name into the heavyweight mix. So, tell us kind of where you're at with the mixed martial arts side of things, because Bellator, it seems that the heavyweight division is building and growing.
Well, you know what, and they're giving me a hard time also, but it has to make sense for me. I've spent a lot of time in my career with the ability to do big things, and I understand what they want. I understand what the promoters want. They want to have good fights, and they want to have ratings. So that's what they signed me for at the very beginning. But then they started watching and they started hearing stuff, because I go down and train, and I'm training with some of the top guys and some of the top trainers. So they see what I can do, and then they throw me in there with some of these guys, and I'm just like destroying them, killing them. Thompson killed him. All these guys just kill him. And
you were correct me if I'm wrong, like a number of your fights, you were sometimes not even in the main event, but it was your fight that was the peak viewership on Spike.
Absolutely. I think every one of my fights, even the fight where they had Kimbo and Shamrock, where they were boasting about, oh, the ratings were so great, the peak time was my fight. So I have value to Bellator, and one thing that I like with Bellator is Scott Coker is a great person. And he's doing great things with the organization as it's changing. It's changing considerably. Like Masasi, that was another one that came over. There's so many guys that are coming over because they understand that Bellator is actually taking care of the fighters. Myself, what I need, what I want, is I want a title. I want a title shot. Whether it's since I took a little bit of time off, they called me up about possibly fighting in December. Looks great for me. December, if I do December, it's either against somebody that's going to get me to the title or it's going to be that title shot. That's what I want. Outside of that, I just don't have the time just to be taking fights. I'm 20-something plus years old, so I'm going to have to start scaling back here from fighting in a little bit. And then the wrestling side, it's starting to take off and looking better. So I love wrestling. So it's not like I want to pull away from wrestling, but right now I just have to either give me the title shot and I can focus my time on getting ready for that title, or you say, all right, we'll give you a fight and I'm going to continue doing both.
If they throw out the option of a Czech Congo, I mean, you look on paper, he's won all these fights in a row, but that's the reaction that many people have. You mentioned Quentin Jackson. That's a fight people really can sink their teeth into.
It's sparked up, and you know what? It's sad that it's like this, but that's how the business is. I mean, with Conor and Floyd doing that nonsense, and all these other guys, Bisping and GSP, nonsense, I believe also. Everybody's not looking for the best fights. They're looking for the most money fights. And Congo, there's times where Congo tried to bump his gums at me online, and I was like, bro, if you want to fight me, I'll come to your gym, or you can come to my gym, and we can just fight and put it on YouTube. But I'm not going to waste my time trying to put that on TV where people are like, oh, that matchup seems kind of, because what the matchup is going to be, I'm going to take him down, and it's going to be just take down, ground and pound, take down, ground and pound, the entire time. That's all it's going to be. I'm not going to just do anything stupid, and I don't think he's going to do anything stupid. He's not going to try to shoot on me, and that's what he's been doing lately. So it's going to be like that chess match where it's like, It's like, that's boring. There's no hype behind it. I'm not going to just start talking trash on Congo for no reason, just to build the fight. So it's just kind of a snooze fight. The other fights that make sense, like I wanted Fedor before. I
Yeah.
thought I was going to get that Fedor fight. Everybody wants Fedor in the heavyweight division. You have to. He's Fedor, the last emperor. He's got that mystique. But then after he lost that fight against Mitrione, I don't know if that hurt him or helped. Or well, it's not going to help him. But I don't know if that hurt him or how bad that hurt him.
I think you two on Spike, I think that's a big fight.
It's still a big fight, yeah. And that's what we were just talking about yesterday. It's like, is that fight a fight that I want to do? Absolutely. And Fedor, since he lost that one, he's probably like really upset, want to revenge something. So I'm your guy. If not him, I don't know. Rampage that's interesting, but it's interesting, and I don't know who else is out there, but.
How is it logistically if you set your mind and have a fight lined up, working out things with Impact? Like certainly it's not as though you're taping TV every week, but how has Impact been in the past, and is it tough to balance the two as you are?
It's challenging. It's challenging. I don't say it's of course it relies on the promoters. If Scott and Dixie or Scott and Anthem want to work together, then it can happen. But if they don't, then it's hard. Because I've had an opportunity before when I was in Strikeforce, when we said we were going to do it, but then when it came down to doing it, and the dedication they saw that I needed, they were like, we don't know if we can do it because now you're pulling away from wrestling, so we're not getting our due diligence. So now I think it's been a lot easier because Dixie's like, all right, we can do it. And the way the schedule's set up, I can actually take some time off and go because our tapings, we have like this time we're doing a week of 12 tapings. So we're not coming back until November. So from the end of August until November, I can train straight forward.
That's a fight camp right
there.
That
is a complete fight camp. But then we take that time off in November. It just depends on where the fight lands. That's the hardest thing.
Right.
Because there was one time where I had, I think it was 8 weeks, but right smack in the last 2 weeks, we had a week of tapings. And I was having a feud with Bobby Roode. And Bobby Roode, I think he's probably arguably one of the greatest wrestlers around. The guy is amazing. So I'm having a match with Bobby Roode. So if I'm getting in the ring with Bobby Roode and he's already that good, I'm not going to take it light because I have a fight.
I remember this. You didn't. So, it was crazy. Actually,
yeah, he gave me.
Considering a fight was coming up.
Yeah, he gave me a Roode bomb from the ring onto the ground, and I was cool with it. But when I hit that ground didn't give it all, and it like threw my hip out. So I'm faking it the whole time. So the next week in camp, I couldn't even do anything for my camp because my hip was like locked out. So it was just stretching and stretching and stretching. And my trainer was like, "You gotta finish this guy pretty quick." I said, well, "It's a fight. We'll see."
Do you feel, if you end up getting a fight like with Fedor, that's a huge deal, and it's something that I feel Impact needs to do a lot with because a lot of your past fights, like I'm watching Bellator and I'm watching Impact, and I don't think enough was done at times to promote your fights coming up. And the fact that this guy is going into this world, do you think there was that hesitancy to really push that fact? And maybe you disagree with me, but I always felt more could be done, that this guy is going to Bellator, fighting these heavyweights, having great success, and then Impact gets you back. It's like the conquering hero coming back. And to me, if you're fighting Fedor, that should be a huge deal on Impact programming as well.
Yeah. It really just depends on who's doing it, who's in the powers that be. If they want to work with it, then it can be done, and it can be done well. I was told after one of my fights that the fights didn't really have a reflection on my wrestling. And I was like, I don't see how you can say that. The fact that I'm going out there fighting people is bringing legitimacy to wrestling, and it's bringing legitimacy to my title. And if you look at it, what I thought was just so stupid, and this is the only time when I said something was just off at the time. I won a fight, and then 2 days later I lost the title. So I won a fight with Bellator, and then 2 days later I lost the title with Impact. It's like, not now.
It's
not
like,
now.
You look at the potential risk that could be of look at Brock Lesnar at UFC 200. I mean, he went out there, and for like 2 weeks, it was like, man, he beats Mark Hunt. Then the drug test stuff happened. That kind of backfired. But
what happened to Mark Hunt saying, it doesn't matter what he's on. I fought, what did he say? I fought these juiced up monkeys.
Yeah,
forever.
He had said ahead of time, and then he said, "Well, I was just that was just fight hype." But he did, anyway,
I like Mark Hunt. I really do. I think he's just. I think he's a cool dude. I follow him on Instagram. I think he's a cool
There's
dude.
a frustration I get with him that it's like Brock was like the third guy for him that was like after the fight.
Right.
Someone got popped for something or there was some irregularity. So I can get that frustration. But I mean, going back to yourself, I mean, it's just to me, I think it's a no-brainer of how much that, I mean, makes you look, makes the company look. And to me, I think it's added to your aura that when you are Impact champion, people do view you as legitimate. And there's that realness that makes you feel special on the show. And I would be exploiting the hell out of that if I was on the Impact side of things.
Absolutely. Especially because what's popular today is like reality TV. Everybody's looking at reality TV, and if they and the casual fans that are just flipping through the channel, if they're flipping through their channel and they see something that just doesn't make sense to them, they're going to keep flipping. The wrestling fans are always going to stop and watch wrestling, and then we got to stop catering to the wrestling fans. The wrestling fans want to complain about wrestling, they want to be excited about wrestling, they want to buy T-shirts, they want to do all that stuff, and they're never going to stop doing that. The casual fans that are hurt. So Bobby does professional wrestling. This is a fighter that does professional wrestling. Let me see what it looks like. And they click over there, and my match is not up, but they see another match, and they look, this is stupid, and click. We don't want that. We want them to look at it saying, man, this is crazy. This like to suspend your reality for a second and say, man, they're really fighting out there. That's what I try to do with my match, and I think that's what we're giving now. You can flip on Impact, and at any point in time, you're like, man, this is pretty cool. Like Moose is doing some really big things. Eli Drake is doing some really big things. The girls are killing it. I mean, we have a lot of different things on the show that are killing it. So the fact that I bring something a little different with the fighting, yeah, of course, I think we need to exploit it as much as possible.
You've been able to come through your career and always be Bobby Lashley. Was there ever a time when you were getting called up from OVW, was there ever a discussion of either keeping you as Blaster Lashley or any other names? Because, I mean, it's kind of, the WWE always went in cycles of names and stuff, and you got lucky that you just got to be your name. Was there ever ideas of throwing out different names, and they were always tied to Bobby Lashley?
I had Blaster. Jim Cornette gave me Blaster back in OVW, and it ended with OVW when I came. And Vince was really cool about it. He was like, no. He said, you have the military background, you have a wrestling background, you have XYZ. Kurt found you here. It's like, you're Bobby. Who else can you be? I was like, cool, because I can own Bobby.
Yeah, it's curious, and not to go all into the issues and stuff. As a professional wrestler, as an independent contractor, are you intrigued by whatever the outcome is over this Broken Hardys story? Because I think it does impact, pardon the pun, all performers, that if they are able to argue this case, I mean, you put a lot into your persona on screen, and as does the promoter as well. It's a very unique case, and both sides are kind of firing at one another. Are you kind of just intrigued by what the outcome is?
You know what? I don't even know what's going on with that.
Yeah, you just stay out of it.
You know what? Last time, I think I was sitting at catering and somebody said something, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was saying like Matt and Ed or Matt and someone, and I was like, "About what? What's going on?" And I heard a little tidbits of it, and then that was it. And I hadn't heard anything again since it until you said it. So I don't know where they're at with it. Are they still fighting? Are they still?
Oh, they're still fighting.
Oh, they're still fighting. Wow. Okay.
Do you go home and just kind of flip the switch, and it's like the pro wrestler Bobby Lashley is off? I'm at home. I'm dad now. I'm fighter Bobby Lashley.
No,
do you separate the two?
What I am is I try to relive my youth. When I watched it as a kid, I wasn't looking at the storylines or what's going on behind the scenes. I was looking at what's on TV. It wasn't about the different promotions. I didn't care about the promotions. I looked at the actual wrestling part of it, and that's how I've always been. I was like, man, that's cool. That's cool. I like this person. I like this person. I didn't know if he was on this show or that show because I was in the Army, so we were traveling all over the place. So when we went to one place, they may have only had one wrestling show there. And then when we switched to another place, we had another wrestling show. As a kid, I just liked the wrestling part of it. So I wasn't in none of the backstage stuff. When I went to WWE, I didn't even know there was dirt sheets until I actually got out of WWE. Because the person that I was riding with was Boogeyman, and Boogeyman had no clue of any of it anyway, because he came from the NFL and I came from wrestling background. So we didn't know that there was all this back guys selling stuff and doing. We had no knowledge of any of this. So I didn't know there was any dirt sheets, and I try to keep myself away from that because it's either going to piss you off, or you're going to be kind of like you're going to feed into it, be kind of an egomaniac, and you're going to try to put yourself over too much to people that you don't need to be doing it. And I stay away from that. So I didn't know anything about the Hardy thing. And that's being completely honest with you. I knew nothing about it. Now, from what I hear, and not to take anything away from Matt or anyone, it's business. Okay, if we do stuff, I have a contract. If my contract says X, Y, Z on that contract, when I go through, I have to just follow that contract. And if it was something where their contract said that if they bring the broken gimmick onto Impact, then Impact owns it. It is what it is. You can't bitch and complain afterwards. If it wasn't something, if they were supposed to own it, then let them own it. I mean, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't take anything away from us to have them do it. Yes, Matt's going to become more popular, but good for him, man. He spent a lot of time in this business. So, Matt, take it, run with it. If it's some, I don't know where the fight is. Yeah. So I'm going to kind of stay away from that one.
Yeah. Was it fun to be a part of it? The last one that they did going on that? I mean, what they came up with was just, it was unbelievable. And for a year where there was all these struggles, I mean, that you watch the on-screen product last year, that's the thing. It's like, it was a very good show throughout the year, despite all the outside stuff.
Right. The broken gimmick at first, it was like, it was so ridiculous that it works in the wrestling community. It was so ridiculous. I love
the idea of plopping you in the middle of all this chaos as well, to have this title match in the middle of the things and on the compound.
Yeah, it was just so insane that I was like, I cannot believe I'm doing. Like Hornswoggle will run over to me and like run into me, and it was a complete fiasco, but it was great, man. Like I said, if I'm flipping through the channels and I see this like train wreck on TV, I'm gonna stop there for a little bit and watch it. And man, it got over great, you know. Delete. Everybody loved all that stuff, and it's cool because, and that's the whole thing with wrestling is Matt and Jeff don't follow that cookie cutter mold. They want to break out and do their own thing, and that's what's cool about them. Look. If they're fighting about the broken gimmick, I know that they took some time to develop that thing. But right now, they have a lot of creative ability between Jeff and Matt. Change it. Do something else. Whatever you run with is going to work. It's going to work. But if Impact keeps the broken gimmick, don't put it on me.
Well, that's the thing. It's that, you know, they very well may have the contracts on their side. It's not a whole lot you can do with it. I don't think you can put any other guys into that. Yeah. It just becomes this thing that it is their property if they can prove that. But nonetheless, it's an intriguing story. Bob.
It's the same thing with a good friend of mine, the Boogeyman.
Right.
Man, I'm telling you, you put that guy anywhere, because I've done different shows with him, and you'll have a line wrapped around the building, just wanting to get into him. Some of the people never seen him before, and they just want to go over to him and say, this is cool, because he's a freak, and he's out there. But the Boogeyman is kind of limited right now, because the Boogeyman is being owned by WWE. So it's the same case.
Yeah.
Like, the Boogeyman, we would love to have him on Impact, but he can't do the Boogeyman gimmick on Impact, because it's owned by the WWE. So
and he's so synonymous with this character.
Yeah, and so right now he's having a hard time because he's a good friend of mine, and he sits at home and he can only do like independence here, independence there, and he's not being really vocal saying, WWE, I can't believe you're doing this, I can't believe you're doing that. He just understands that when he was in the WWE, he built it by himself, because I was with him from OVW when he was building that character. Everything about that character is his, but he can't take it go somewhere else. But he can't really bitch to WWE because he made his bed. He signed the paperwork on it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the hard part about contracts is if you sign a contract, you get paid by the contract, you have to buy it by the contract.
Yeah, and that's why I think this case, it's very interesting. If there ends up being kind of a resolution, if it changes anything, it's something I think that wrestlers should be kind of following and seeing whatever the outcome is.
They have to understand it. Yeah. They have to understand across the board. I got a good resolution for it.
What's that? You could end it all right here on our desk.
Yes. Here's a resolution. Matt, leave the WWE and come back to Impact and do the broken gimmick there. Problem solved. We're all happy.
And then the Boogeyman can go to the WWE.
And the Boogeyman's back on TV
Bobby Lashley,
again.
the negotiator here. Well, as we wrap things up here, I mean, perfect scenario. I mean, we're here in August at this point. I mean, if you're looking at a fight, what's a realistic timetable for you if Bellator can present something that is of interest to you, of an opponent, a championship fight? What's a realistic time frame you would like? Would it be early 2018?
No, well, they sent me a message. Coker sent me like the matchmaker there sent me like just an open message. He was like, he just said, December 16th or 17th or somewhere. I don't want to mess the dates up because I don't want to be somewhere. December 16th, London, main event. And I was like,
no opponent?
What is, put something else in there.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense. It looks good.
That's doable, December.
Yeah, because anything that I do, like I said before, I have to make sure it works with all parties. So if they come with the date, they come with the opponent, they come with the matchup, I have to go then to Impact and say, hey, look, does this fit in our schedule also? I'm not trying to burn any bridges. I'm trying to do good business with everyone. Impact's taking care of me really, really well. I love Impact. I love being here. So I'm not just going to do something without, just giving them the due diligence of saying, hey, this is what I have. So they can say, let me look at our schedule. Okay, we don't have you here. We need you here. So if they need me in a place like November, of course we have those tapings. So November is like a month beforehand. So I mean, I can conceivably do it, but I just need to sit down with them and just make sure that I can do it. That's all it is. And December sounds good. What I would like is to do these tapings and then do one before the next tapings.
Yes.
Because it's September, October. I mean, 2 months. Yeah, if I do one at the end of October, that'd be beautiful. Because I can leave tapings on the 22nd, go straight into camp, and I'm in good shape because I stay training. I always train. So I mean, I teach boxing, I teach wrestling, I do everything. So I'm in great. Even right now, I'm in good shape. I think right now I'm about just any fight. I'm a month out of any fight, or just select fights. I'm 6 weeks out of a big fight. So I think I can do it at the end of October or December. So we'll see what they say.
Well, I hope it all works out because I think that the Bellator heavyweight division, it's very intriguing right now, and you're definitely a big part of that as well. You can watch Impact Wrestling Thursday nights, 8 Eastern on Fight Network and Game TV. Bobby, this has been a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you very much. And keep it tuned. LiveAudioWrestling.com and FightNetwork.com.